Folks, this is going to be a very short video demonstration of how to change out a saw arbor on your Shopsmith system. It's a little bit different than other table saws. First thing that I do if I'm taking off a saw arbor, I like to clamp it into a wooden vise like this. If you don't have this, folks, you can do this change out while the blade is mounted on the machine. Just be real cautious. Make sure you're unplugged and use all the common sense you can. A couple tools we're going to need. A set of leather gloves is a very good idea when you're handling saw blades. I have a leather mallet. I have an arbor wrench. I have an Allen wrench for taking the set screw out of the arbor. And what else? Oh, I have an adjustable wrench. That's really about it. Once the blade is clamped in place like this, usually all I have to do is just tap it with a hammer, or a mallet rather. The one thing you want to know here is to loosen this, it has to come off counterclockwise, so it's a left-handed thread. And if you try to go the other way, you're never going to get anywhere. So make sure you take it off in that direction. Also, look at the way the teeth are pointed there. So when you go to put it back on, you'll know. Make sure the blade and the teeth are pointing towards the operator. I've had people tell me about saw blades burning, and we traced down the problem when they had mounted the blade backwards. And that's something you can do, I suppose. When you go to put it back on, it's just a matter of reversing the process. We screw it on counterclockwise, and I use two wrenches to tighten it up, and then just give it a little tap with the mallet, and that's really about all there is to it. Folks, this is easy to do, it's quick to do. In the following video to this, I'm going to show you how I mount the saw blade and the guard right onto the Mark V. So you can look for that one, maybe that will help some of you too. And if you don't have that size arbor wrench, I forget what that is, 1¼ inch, maybe something like that. You can use two separate wrenches, I suppose, whatever you need. This doesn't have to be super tight, just snug. The actual action of the saw blade will tighten it up. And that's it. Folks, this is just a little bonus commentary. When I was teaching classes, I had many people ask me why Shopsmith put that big hole in that blade. And I would usually turn it around and say, well, why do you think they did that? And they would admit to me that yeah, it's so that we're locked into buying Shopsmith blades. Well, that's really not the case, folks. The answer to this, you have to go back in history a little bit. If you went back to the 1930s and 1940s and looked around, what you'd find is that the average size saw blade back then for the home shop was about 8 inches. Some of them were only 7 inches. Well, a small hole for a small blade is fine. Well, at that time, a 10-inch blade was considered commercial size, and they all used the big 1¼ inch size hole. Shopsmith was the first company that widely distributed a table saw for the home woodworker that had a 10-inch blade, and they did what was right, what the engineer said. They put the big hole in the big blade. Well, the other tool companies, and I'm not going to mention any names, but I suspect you know them, decided, well, we better jump on that bandwagon. So they started putting 10-inch blades on, but they didn't want to have to retool. So what they did is started using a 5/8 inch hole in a 10-inch blade. However, they had vibration and wobble problems. How did they solve that? They said, oh, that's easy. Just put stabilizing washers on it. Folks, what happens when you put stabilizing washers on a 10-inch saw blade? What do you lose? Depth of cut, exactly right. So you've kind of defeated the entire purpose of going with a bigger blade. You know, if you don't need the depth of cut, actually a smaller blade will give you more power. So the point I want to make here is Shopsmith did it right. They continue to do it right. And if you think about it, drill bits, sandpaper, anything that's a reusable, disposable type item, including saw blades on the Shopsmith, all come in standard sizes. So it's not to force you to buy their product. It's simply giving you the best performance possible. Thanks for watching.